the Vidar. One of the things I love most about Schiit is how they name things, because it's not a bunch of alphabet soup like QXDA-01 Mark II. No, it's the Vidar. Vidar. Change one letter and it's Vader. And it even looks like Darth Vader, kind of. Or at least one of the modules that would be in his little pod in Empire Strikes Back, when the guy comes in and he's... and his mask comes down. And then he turns around. And he's sitting crisscross applesauce in there, and he turns around. His little pod. I don't know what that was for, but he seemed to be real comfortable in small places. From a power perspective, I don't think you're gonna need much more. You may, but there's an option for that if you're so inclined. Into 8 ohms, you get 100 watts per channel. That doubles to 200 watts per channel for 4 ohm speakers. And then if you bridge it, you get 400 watts into 8 ohms. The Vidar's built like a tank. No, I don't think it's on, so I don't know if I'm going to get feedback when I touch it. All right, on the side, you hear that? That is the cooling fins. This thing, I think it's 22 pounds. So when you pull it, it's a thick, dense, and people say it's small. I don't think it's small. It's pretty big, actually. It's heavy. You can tell, one can tell, when they pull it out of the box, that this thing is very high quality. And it is very refreshing to pull this out of the box and then pull like a $800 integrated amp or something like that. That, yes, it's heavy, but it's not like this. I don't know how to explain it. It's just a different level of build quality compared to a lot of other things at this price range. Now, to be fair, I've really only spent time with one other quote-unquote dedicated power amp, and that would be the Emotiva A2, and that comes in at $500, I believe, so this is $200 more. Now, I have in-house the Emotiva XPA Gen 3 2-channel, which I purchased for myself. That comes in around $1,000 or maybe $1,050, and it's also a dedicated power amp. I will be doing a comparison between all three of those, but for today's video, I'm just going to talk about the Vidar and how it sounds, mated up with the Freya Plus and the Emotiva P1, which is another preamp. Also, I paired it up with the SMSL SU8S, which is just a DAC, but it has volume control, and the Bluesound Node 2i, which is the older node. There's a new one. It's an older node, but it checks out. I was about ready to clear them. Shall I hold? What movie is that from? Anyway, the power amp, the Vidar, works with anything that has a volume control and variable outputs. So you don't think that you need a dedicated preamp. A DAC with volume control will work. A Bluesound, a streamer with volume control will work. There's an awful lot of ways that you can actually get volume control. And you can get like a $60 potentiometer that will work. I wouldn't recommend that, but any of the headphone amps like the Magni, the Magnius, they'll all work on the Vidar to control volume. So how does the Vidar sound? Well, that depends on what you are feeding the Vidar. I will say, when I was running the Bifrost into the Freya Plus, into the Vidar, it was absolutely crystal clear. And with the Bifrost 2 having a little bit of fullness, it really balanced things out and was a fantastic combination. I know, go figure. When I was running the Denafreps Ares 2 into the Freya, into the Vidar, I felt like I was wanting a little bit more body. It still sounded awesome, with the Bifrost being a little bit weightier, a little bit heavier. I know that doesn't make any sense, right? A little bit heavier than the Denafreps Ares 2. I liked the Bifrost pairing going through the Freya into the Vidar. Point being, the Vidar is very transparent to whatever is feeding it, because when I played the Emotiva P1 through it, even with the Denafreps, it didn't seem as crystalline as through the Freya. Again, Freya is very clear, especially with the tube buffer. There is a airiness, but I'm not saying it sounds thin, but what I'm saying is you have to make sure that you have a source feeding the Freya that is going to suit your personal taste, because it is a absolute clear picture into the music. The Freya is clean. That's what I'm saying. Freya Plus is clean. With the tube buffer, it's clean, but also there's a little bit forward nature to the upper mid, so it brings things forward a bit. So if you've got the wrong speakers, if you've got the wrong source, that can be a very intense musical experience. I'm not saying it's bad. I think it's fantastic, and I think the versatility of the Freya Plus is really unrivaled. However, it's $950, and that doesn't really work into my life right now, and that's fine. There is that option out there for the folks that are so interested. The Freya Plus is a fantastic device, but remember, you have to add a DAC. You have to add all the sources, and there are products out there that do things for a lot less. Now, they're not going to sound as good as the Freya Plus, but they're going to be more affordable. What I'm saying is you don't feel compelled that you have to buy the Freya Plus with the Vidar. There's other options, even within the Schiit family, like the Saga, like the Magnus, like the Magni. Any of those are going to be able to control the volume on the Vidar. When I had the Vidar connected to the Emotiva P1, it was a great combination. I think one loses some of the finite details on the P1 when it's going into the Vidar, but that's not the Vidar's fault. I really think it has to do with the DAC, the phono stage, and really just the preamp stage of the P1. But it doesn't matter because it sounded fantastic, and actually to my ears was very pleasant because I felt everything was very balanced out. I didn't feel like anything was forward. Issues with recordings aren't going to be heard as much through the P1 going into the Vidar versus a Denafreps going into the Freya Plus or a Bifrost going into the Freya Plus and then into the Vidar. I think the most interesting pairing with the Vidar is the Bluesound Node, because one gets a streamer, a digital preamp, and you can bring in an analog input. One of, if not the best software platforms for a streamer. You can bring in an analog, which means if you have a phono stage, you can bring that into the Bluesound and then take it out. And you can manage all of your digital inputs in the Bluesound. And you have variable high pass, variable low pass, a subwoofer out, all for around $500. Then you're putting that into the Vidar, and you can have a fantastic system for around $1,200 all in. You also have volume control that can be done through an app or through an actual remote control. Now you have to buy the remote control for the Bluesound, but for a small form factor, I don't think the Bluesound Node and the Vidar can be beat. Vidar is ridiculously powerful. Even with my hardest to drive speakers, the ELAC Unify, the first generation, 85 dB, 4 ohm impedance, but they dip even lower. The Vidar had no problem controlling it effortlessly. Bass was full, tight. This is just a very clean amplifier. And at $700, I'm not going to say it's a steal, because $700 is still a lot for me and for my channel. But $700 is reasonable. And I have a Marantz NR1711, which has preamp outs for the front two channels. So if one is so inclined and they want to run a very dedicated, powerful, capable two-channel system from their receiver, and you can probably do that already with the receiver, but if you want just to step it up, you can do that with the Vidar. Hook the Vidar up, and it's small. So you can hook the NR1711 preamp out for the front 2 channels into the Vidar and have a killer 2-channel setup. The Vidar is absolutely amazing. Is it as good as the A2? Is it better than the A2? Is it better than the GPA? I don't know. I haven't A-B'd and C'd those yet. As it stands, it is fantastic, and for $700, it is hard to think that this thing is going to be beat readily by another product, especially when you consider the build quality. It's clean. Clean, 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 clean. It will punch you in the face like a 52-year-old longshoreman who really wants to retire but just hasn't quite got there, angry at you. The Vidar is awesome, and it is a way to continue to build towards your endgame system. If you get an integrated amp that has pre-outs like the Emotiva TA1, sorry, I get some of the model numbers mixed up. So if you get the TA1 from Emotiva, it has preamp outs. That means you get the TA1, you're running it right now, and then you get the itch to improve. You can get obviously the A2, but you can also get the Vidar. The Vidar, and there's no numbers. I almost said the Vidar something something, but no, it's just the Vidar. So you can get the Vidar. You can get a home theater receiver like the NR1711 or any home theater receiver that has preamp outs, and then later get the Vidar. You can get the Bluesound and then get the Vidar. You can get the SMSL SU8S and the Vidar. Anything that has volume control, you can put the Vidar on it if you don't want to mess around with other products. It's a fantastic sounding amplifier, and to my ear is much more, and I hate this word, but I'm going to use it. It's much more musical than something like the Crown Class D 2-channel amplifiers. I cannot believe I just used the term musical in one of my videos, but it is. It's more dynamic. It is powerful, quick, nimble. Soundstage, I forgot to talk about sound. Soundstage is big. And I think when we're talking about these larger power supplies, clean power, I think that lends itself to soundstage, and the Vidar has it. So don't be afraid to go to the dark side. It comes in silver too. I like the black though. This is probably an endgame amplifier for most, unless you really want to jump up. I have a hard time believing someone's going to do better than this, period. Now, fine, send me a $5,000 power amplifier. I'm probably wrong. It's not audiophile enough, but it's good enough for me, and I think it's going to be good enough for 99% of the people out there. Vidar, US made. I think these come out of California or Texas now. $700. They are back ordered right now. The Freya Plus is back ordered as well, but a lot of times if you get your order in, they get it out a lot more quickly. The Freya Plus is awesome. Not the product for me right now, and I'm not saying this because it's bad. I think it's too good. I think this product is too good for me right now. I'm looking for things personally that do a little bit more and maybe have a little bit more versatility. But this is, it's awesome, okay? And I'm sure it blows all other preamps out of the water unless they're like $6,000. Problem is, I don't have any experience with high-end preamps. I don't have any experience with high-end tube amps, like tube preamps. So I don't have any experience. This thing is probably awesome. I don't know if it is or not. It's too fancy for me right now. Freya Plus is just too fancy. But if you know that that's something you want to do, then go for it. The Saga Plus is less expensive and does very similar, has very similar functionality. Also has a remote, but it's single-ended, so you're not going to get the balanced benefits from the Saga. So Freya Plus, fantastic. Just it's too nice for me right now, but don't let that dissuade you from looking at it. It's $950, and I'm sure it's worth $3,000, or probably picks fights with $3,000. I just have never heard of $3,000 preamp. So if you want to support the channel, you can sign up for Patreon, patreon.com/cheapaudioman. Every Sunday night we have Patreon-only Zooms. We also have a Patreon-only Facebook group. You can also sign up for Amazon Music. You get 3 months of Amazon Music, 6 months of Disney Plus for free. You don't have to keep it. You can cancel it at any time. I don't know. I think you have to cancel it within 30 days. You can also use my links in the description. However, neither one of these are affiliate links. So if you click on it and you buy it, I'm not going to get anything out of it. But it doesn't matter. Okay, first we're going to change it up. I used to say don't binge watch, just binge listen. But now, some home theater stuff, you can binge watch some stuff, something cool with space explosions. But binge listen through your new Schiit, Vidar, and maybe Freya Plus, and fill your soul with happiness. And with that, I'm Randy. I'm the cheap audio man.